Hey guys, it's Mariana, and today we're talking about A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. Obviously, I'm just going to be talking about the first 5 books in the series, which is all we have published at the moment, and I just finished A Dance with Dragons last night, and I feel pretty accomplished about this, but at the same time it's kind of bittersweet because I am out of A Song of Ice and Fire books to read, but I am done with the series for now until we get the next book, which is hopefully soon, and I am just going to tell you my general thoughts on all of these books. The first part of this video is going to be spoiler-free. I'm just going to talk about the series in general, what I like about it, what I don't like about it as much, who should read the series in my opinion, who does not need to read the series in my opinion, stuff like that. And after that, I'm going to let you know where the spoilers begin, so you won't be spoiled out of nowhere. So A Song of Ice and Fire is an epic fantasy series. This is the book series that Game of Thrones TV show is based on, which is something I am obsessed with. I'm generally obsessed with the world of Ice and Fire, let's just say that. And I am not really going to go over the premise because if you clicked on this video, I'm assuming that you know what's up. This is an epic fantasy series. We have all these great houses of Westeros. We have the Iron Throne. There's a lot of political stuff and scheming and all of that. There's also the whole other continent where things are pretty different. And yeah, epic fantasy series. If I were to rate the series overall, at this point, I would give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I am in love with the series, like I said, but it's not without its faults, so I can't wholeheartedly give it 5 out of 5, even though there are a lot of things that I really love about it. Quick ratings. The first book, A Game of Thrones, I gave 5 out of 5 to. Of course, this is the book that made me fall in love with the series. I loved everything about it. I loved the characters. I loved the way everything was developed. I even loved when it stabbed me in the back repeatedly, but what are you gonna do? That's the kind of world that all of these characters live in. So obviously I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and it definitely did an amazing job introducing me to the series. The second book, A Clash of Kings, is in my opinion the weakest book of the series. I know a lot of people say that the 4th book is the weakest, but to me, this was kind of the toughest to get through. I still thought that the slower parts were worth it in the end, and I still enjoyed the writing, and I still enjoyed getting inside these characters' heads and the new points of view that were introduced in this book. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I still really enjoyed it. There isn't a book in the series that I didn't like. The third book, A Clash of Kings, is absolutely fantastic. If I could give it more than 5 stars, I would, because it deserves all of the stars. There are so many things that happen in this book and so many new things that come up. There's action, there's intrigue, there are shocking moments on top of shocking moments. It is really good. It is easily the best fantasy book I have ever read. The 4th book in the series, A Feast for Crows, is a solid 4 out of 5 for me. Probably more so than A Clash of Kings, because I feel like I definitely liked this one more than this one, but they both felt like 4 out of 5 for me. I couldn't really bring A Clash of Kings below a 4 out of 5 rating because I still really enjoyed it, but a lot of it was the fact that I love George R.R. Martin's writing and that I love the characters. But this book I enjoyed, except for one storyline, which has to do with the Greyjoys and all the shenanigans that's going on at the Iron Islands. But everything else to me was really interesting, and once again I enjoyed the new characters, the new perspectives. I enjoyed the setup for the further stuff. And last but not least, the 5th book, A Dance with Dragons, also 4 out of 5 stars. I would say that I enjoyed these equally. I liked that this was shorter, because this book, and I really dislike when people say this, but it's true, this could have been shorter. It really could have been, because there are so many side characters and so much scheming and so much politics that it's almost confusing to me at points. Still really enjoyed it. Solid 4 out of 5 stars as well. Like I said, there are a lot of things that I love about A Song of Ice and Fire. First of all, of course, the writing. George R.R. Martin just creates the most amazing world. I have no idea how he does it. This is why he takes so long to write his books, because I can't even begin to imagine what it takes to create a fantasy series like this. I know some people say that his writing is a little bit too detailed and we don't need as many descriptions of food and locations and whatever else, but I actually think the attention to details is what creates this world in such a realistic way, because when you read about Westeros and Essos and all of these characters, you really believe that this could be something that existed at some point. We have all of these locations that are so different from each other. We have different cultures that clash and try to kind of understand each other or go to war because they can't understand each other. We have all of these individual houses that have their own traditions, and we have so many different religions as well, which is something that I find really enjoyable. I love when a book creates their own set of beliefs, and especially here where there are different sets of beliefs and there's that kind of conflict going on as well. It is just fascinating to me. I also love that the characters in the series are very complicated. Nobody is just quintessentially good or quintessentially bad. There are people in the series that come close to that, but nobody is truly just one thing, your typical character. There just isn't one that's like that, and I love morally ambiguous characters, and this series is full of those, which of course makes me very excited. Something that a lot of people love about this series and that I really enjoy as well is the really slowly building aura of magic. When you start off with a Game of Thrones book 1, you get mostly politics and scheming and the relationships between all of these houses and people fighting for the Iron Throne. And then from time to time you get these bits of magic and the unexplained just thrown into the mix, and along with the rest of the characters, you're not sure if they're real or if they're not. Do you believe the legends? Do you not believe the legends? Do you think all prophecies and visions are just a joke, or are you with the people who think there are all these things coming and everything is true? The presence of these magical elements slowly grows throughout the series, so you still get all of your politics and scheming and relationships and all of that, but then you get more and more of the magical stuff, and by book 5 you have magical creatures, you have artifacts, you have visions and prophecies and general sense of the unknown and the unexplained, and it feels so organic. As you can tell, I'm a big fan. There are 2 themes throughout the series which I really appreciate. The first one is transformation, which comes through in so many parts of the book. First of all, personal transformations and how people are affected by major events. Then there are power shifts and political transformations. Then you have just cultural and general weird transformations, and then of course you have some magical stuff as well, and then you have the overall transformation of the world and the winter coming and all of that. The second theme that becomes more and more apparent as more magical elements enter the series is how people fight about this nonsense of things that seems really big and major to them and completely ignore the big problem that is about to hit them in the face. And I think it is really interesting that these houses just keep consuming each other and screwing each other over, and they're about to be screwed over by something that they have no idea how to deal with. As far as favorite characters go, I first of all, of course, love all of the Starks. Who doesn't love the Starks? I love Eddard Stark, I love Arya, I love Sansa, all of them. Rob, whoever else is there that I'm forgetting right now because I'm gushing. I love all of these people, and I love Jon Snow, who is kind of a Stark as well. Who doesn't love Jon Snow? I'm pretty sure Jon Snow is the most mentioned character as far as favorites go for people because everybody talks about him. I also love Jaime Lannister and Tyrion Lannister. Jaime because of the theme of transformation, because his character starts off in a place where you really don't like him, and then he finds his way into your heart, and it's bizarre, but you start loving the character that you hated in the beginning. And Tyrion is somebody who also deals with transformation a little bit later in the books and in a different way than Jaime, My relationship to Tyrion was a little bit rocky for most of Dance with Dragons, but I'm on Team Tyrion again. In general, though, his character definitely has a good heart, but because of the way that he was raised and what he had to deal with, he can be a quintessentially good person, but at the same time, he's intelligent and clever and generally interesting. My more recent favorite is Melisandre, who is the Red Priestess, and she is somebody I am very interested in. I still have no idea what kind of person she is because we only got one chapter for her perspective. She is one of those characters that I definitely need to know more about, and she definitely takes some warming up to, which is also a thing in this book series. There are quite a few characters that you're not going to like when you first meet them, and then you're going to understand them better and you're going to like them or love them. It's just how it works, and it is amazing that George R.R. Martin is able to make you care about these characters. Things that I don't love about the series is that it does get slow sometimes. You have these giant books and some of them have to deal with the aftermath of the previous book, and that can get slow. There also comes a point where there are so many characters and so many storylines that you may start getting overwhelmed. I definitely started getting a little bit overwhelmed in A Feast for Crows and even more in A Dance with Dragons. I wasn't completely lost, but I definitely felt like there was too much going on. But overall, as you can probably tell, I love the series and I cannot wait for the next book to come out. And as far as whether or not you should read the books, I think most people would really enjoy them. I think the only reason you shouldn't read these books is A, if you find that you have trouble getting through long books, or if this is your first fantasy series. Like, I would not recommend this to anybody who wants to get into fantasy. I think you would be really overwhelmed. If you are used to long, complicated books, maybe you can do it, but generally I would not recommend starting a fantasy experience with A Song of Ice and Fire. If you're somebody who watches the show and enjoys the show and you wanted to read the books, but then you now are thinking, well, I heard that the show is caught up to the books and why would I read them? I know everything. No, you do not know everything. The further it gets into the show, the more different the books in the show are. I would say if you really aren't looking forward to reading 5 books that are really long, you can probably skip book 1 because book 1 and season 1 are very similar. I would still recommend reading all of them because I read book 1 after I saw like 3 seasons of Game of Thrones, and I still thought that there was interesting new information in book 1. But in general, if you are trying to cut down on the amount of pages that you read, you can probably skip book 1. But starting book 2, there are some differences, and then book 3, there are even more differences, and then book 4 and 5, you flat out have characters and storylines that don't exist in the show. You have people who are dead in the show who are not dead in the books. You have people who are dead in the books and not dead in the show. It is definitely worth reading, and you're going to get so much more food for thought and theories and all of that that you're just going to enjoy it. If you enjoy the TV show, I definitely recommend reading the books. Now, I'm going to get into spoilers. I have a few things that I want to discuss. I do not recommend watching the rest of this video if you haven't read the books. So the first thing that I want to talk about, of course, is Jon Snow, because let's be real, we're all concerned about Jon Snow, and it kind of makes me worried that people's motivation for thinking that he will be back is that he is a major character and there's no way George would kill him. Guys, George has been killing major characters this entire series. That being said, I do think that Jon Snow, as a person, is dead. I think his body is coming back. I think Melisandre's chapter was a big kind of red flag for that because of the thing that she says when she keeps wanting to see Azor Ahai and she keeps asking for a glimpse of this reborn prince, and she keeps seeing Jon Snow, and I wish she would just put the two together, because clearly Jon Snow is going to be Azor Ahai reborn. How is he going to be reborn? I'm not sure. My gut feeling is that they're going to try to burn him with a sword, and he's going to be reborn out of the flames like Daenerys was, and his sword is going to become the real Lightbringer, because if you remember, Maester Aemon makes it pretty clear that the sword that Stannis has is not Lightbringer, because it's not warm. It glows, it shines, but it's not warm, and the real Lightbringer is supposed to be warm as well as pretty and shiny. As far as the Bolton letter goes, I don't think that is legit. I think it's partly legit. I think he may have captured Mance, and the whole terrible stuff with the spear wives that he was talking about in the letter is probably true. And that sucks because the Boltons suck. But I do not think the Siege of Winterfell happened behind the scenes. I just don't think that is something that George R.R. Martin would do. The second thing that I want to talk about is Aegon Targaryen, the bomb that was dropped in A Dance with Dragons. Oh my god, this kid is alive, has been alive this whole time, and I think it's kind of a game changer. I do want to read the prophecies that Daenerys received at the House of the Undying again, because I feel like I missed a lot of stuff, and the whole dragon has 3 heads prophecy is definitely coming true. The only question is, who is the 3rd head of the dragon? If we have Daenerys and we have Aegon, does that mean there is a 3rd person that is yet to be revealed as another Targaryen, or is the 3rd head of the dragon going to be Azor Ahai reborn? Also an option. What I find really concerning though is that Daenerys could be potentially sick and dying because of the ending of A Dance with Dragons, and we had this whole sickness thing built up throughout the entire book, throughout A Dance with Dragons, and it just is really alarming, and her death is something that I would not be surprised by. I mean, I would be surprised because she's a major character, but at the same time, I would be more surprised if Jon Snow didn't come back as Azor Ahai than if Daenerys died. Something that I really want to know more about are all of these groups and cults. We have Brotherhood Without Banners, we have Sons of the Harpy, we have the Sparrows, we have all of these different groups of people who are pretty influential in their area, but we don't know much about them, particularly Brotherhood Without Banners, because we have Lady Stoneheart there, and I definitely want to know more about Zombie Cat. Also, we need to know how Brienne got out. I'm assuming she got cut down before she died because she said she was going to kill Jaime Lannister, and that's what happened, but I was really looking forward to actually seeing what happened there and what happened to Pod, because did he die? I'm not sure. Really want to know more about Lady Stoneheart. I could go on and on talking about these books. These are just elements that are fresh in my mind because these are books that I finished recently. I don't honestly remember too much about book 1 because it's been a while, but these things are on my mind and I'm thinking about them and I'm analyzing them, and like I said, I think I need to reread the prophecies that Daenerys received at the House of the Undying. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Thank you so much for watching. Let's talk about all of it in the comments below. Just have some spoiler warnings there, but I would love to talk A Song of Ice and Fire theories with you, and what do you think is going to happen in the Winds of Winter? Let's talk about everything in the comments below and how the zombie apocalypse, the ice zombie apocalypse, aka White Walker apocalypse, is totally coming for Westeros. Like, they're gonna be screwed. It's snowing in King's Landing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye!